Behavioral science studies human behavior in the real world and tries to influence decision-making so that we turn intention to action. Numerous social service organizations, multinational firms, and governments around the world use behavioral science to improve service delivery to clients and constituents. Given its prevalence, many organizations, agencies, and institutions may wonder how they can apply behavioral science to their programs. Enter Simpler, a framework that describes 7 proven principles from behavioral science that you can immediately begin applying to your program. These techniques center on the user's experience and should always be matched to a solid understanding of the needs of the individual. The Simpler framework describes behavioral principles applied across dozens of tests. Each of the principles has been tested in a variety of contexts. So while we at MDRC's Center for Applied Behavioral Science always aim to tailor solutions to a particular problem and context, we believe that the Simpler framework is a helpful heuristic that allows programs to apply behavioral science right away. The 7 principles in Simpler are social influence, implementation prompts, making deadlines, personalization, loss aversion, ease, and reminders. Let's go through each of the principles one by one to learn what they mean and how you can apply them. Let's start with the S in Simpler, social influence. When we use social influence, we highlight the behavior of peers and other influential people to encourage individuals to achieve their goals. A great way to harness social influence is by gathering testimonials and sharing them on printed materials or online. You could also be creative. Consider having a former client or student either present about their positive experiences with your program, or call up interested prospects and talk to them about the great services that they received. Let's move on to the I in Simpler, implementation prompts. Implementation prompts encourage people to plan the steps they will take to complete a task. Developing a checklist that identifies each step an individual has to take or that lists each item they need to bring with them to a meeting are practical and effective ways to use implementation prompts. To really harness the power of prompts, consider having individuals write down their own prompts. Writing down the date and time of a meeting could increase the likelihood prospective attendees remember and attend that meeting. The M in Simpler stands for making deadlines. Deadlines emphasize the importance and urgency of completing an action step by establishing a due date. Most of us implicitly know that deadlines are important. We've all had that item on our to-do list without a deadline that we kept pushing off as more urgent requests came up. Anytime you make a request of an individual, you should include a deadline, even in situations where there is no firm cutoff date. Consider increasing the power of a deadline by incentivizing earlier completion with a benefit. For example, you could let individuals know that if they submit their application by a certain date, they could receive a gift card or priority access to a service. Next up, the P in Simpler stands for personalization. We can personalize information by using a person's name in a communication or by referencing a person's unique circumstances. A personal touch has proven to be more engaging and can greatly improve outcomes. You can further personalize communications by recommending a course of action based on the recipient's specific circumstances. For example, if you have multiple office locations, you should highlight the address for the one closest to each recipient. Another way to use personalization is to refer to details learned about an individual in previous conversations whenever calling or texting them. The L in Simpler stands for loss aversion. The prospect of missing out may be more powerful than the possibility of gaining something. You can apply the principle of loss aversion to communications by including a reference to what individuals could miss out on if they don't take action. You could also use loss aversion by providing individuals with an incentive and letting them know that they could lose it if they don't act. For example, you might share a gift card worth $25 that would lose $5 in value for every meeting they miss. Now let's move to the E in Simpler, ease. Whenever we can, we should make things as easy as possible by removing any perceived hassles or barriers. One way we can make it easier for individuals to take a requested action is by offering clear, simple explanations of a process, preferably in multiple ways, including verbally, through text, and through visuals. Some concrete ways we might remove perceived hassles or barriers are by pre-filling out a form for individuals, or by streamlining an application process. Finally, the R in Simpler stands for reminders. Reminders reduce mental effort by providing cues that a task still needs to be completed. With so many competing obligations, most of us need reminders to help us turn intention to action. The most obvious ways to use reminders are to send individuals regular text and/or email reminders of appointments and other commitments. You should think deeply about the frequency and timing of your reminders. A good rule of thumb is to send at least 3 friendly reminders, and try to tie them to milestones like 1 week and 24 hours before an event. So to recap, the letters in Simpler stand for social influence, implementation prompts, make deadlines, personalization, loss aversion, ease, and reminders. Remember that behavioral science solutions are strongest when we tailor them to the specific context where the challenges are occurring. However, the 7 principles of Simpler are a great starting point and provide you with the tools to apply concepts that have proven to be effective across many contexts.